Okay, I am back, and I think I've got the belt situation more or less figured out. So the first setup is pretty straightforward in terms of the belts on this like upper portion of generators. So we've got a miner just going directly into this conveyor lift here. That's nice and simple. And then this one goes across to continue down. But let's see, then this one feeds into this, Mark II conveyor lift, just making sure everything here is Mark II. If I start having trouble with coal throughput, that would be the first place to check, is if I left a Mark I anything in the middle. But then the other, as for getting to the lower level, what I decided to do was sort of punch out a hole in this ramp here and route the belts through like this, which I think looks pretty good. It's not the best, but I think that looks pretty nice. It was a bit of a pain to get it through such a narrow gap, though, so I figure I will demonstrate how I did that on the far side here. So I guess to start, let's take this ceiling mount and just put it at our target position. So just going to line it up here, and I think it's one back from the edge. That looks correct, and right down the middle of the foundation here. So that one's nice and easy, but the issue was, can I jump this? Ooh, not quite. Let's do a slide jump. There we go. The issue was that if I just, take a Mark II, take it up to the ceiling here, like there, for instance, and then try to connect straight to that, it's gonna go clip through, this foundation, like every time. But yeah, so what I would do is I would take one of these conveyor ceiling mounts, and I would point right at the edge of this foundation, and then I would lock it in place, and I would nudge it forward twice, so that it is clipping partially into this little ramp here. And as you can see, because that ramp is thick enough, it's not going to stick out. Not even close to sticking out through the top of the ramp, so that's not going to be an issue. And then what I did was I took a foundation, like a 2 meter, and I stuck it right there, and I took another conveyor lift and I repeated the same process. The reason why I'm using a foundation is because I can't seem to get these ceiling mounts to attach to these double ramps properly. So I'm basically just using this to get a placement option right there, right on the edge of that foundation, and thus right on the edge of this ramp. I'm just going to nudge it forward twice like I did for the previous, and then I'm just going to delete this foundation, because it was just there to give me a placement for this. And I think that is how I ended up doing this. So I just hopped this up to here, and then hopped this down to here, and I did default build mode so that it doesn't try to force it to straighten out like that. And then default down to there. Let's see how straight looks there, actually. So let's see. Straight or default? I think I like the look of straight there a little bit more, so that's what I'll do. Yeah, it's a little more likely to interfere with like a truck coming through, maybe, but I think it's high enough to not be an issue. So let me actually replicate that on the other side. And then I just need to get that over to a conveyor lift. So, yeah, that looks good. And that should be coal all routed, because it'll go up through that lift and then through our coal manifolds, which we've already constructed. So, yeah, we've got pipes routed and we've got coal routed, so the only thing left should be power. And power is going to be a little bit more complicated than just hooking everything up. And that's because essentially coal power... Oh, wow. Hang on. That's better. I'm fine with that. Coal power essentially requires support from some other power system in order to stand it up. And what I mean by that is, like, maybe it's best to contrast with biomass. With biomass, it's got burners, you hand load in some biomass and ingredients, some solid fuel, whatever it is, and the burners start up and bam, you have power. But with something like coal, because it's automated, the automation of mining coal and extracting water requires power itself. So you can't just you can't hand load in water, for example, to these generators. You technically could hand load coal, but it's certainly not ideal to, and because you can't hand load water, there's essentially no point. You need some sort of power to support the stand-up of your coal generators themselves. So this is an idea that is something you wouldn't have had to deal with until this point, that in order to get power up, you need power. Well, as a result, I like to build my coal power plants with a little startup biomass setup. It is both for initial startup, but also for a case where I have some sort of catastrophic failure of the power grid. You know, like I blow a fuse, and for whatever reason, there's not enough coal or water backed up in the system to allow me to just restart everything once I correct the blown fuse situation. Now, I don't know how realistic that is, because these fluid buffers are here basically to prevent that. And there's enough residual coal in the generators and on the input lines in most cases. The idea would be that I would power up a bank of biomass generators and connect them to my startup network. And that startup network would consist just of one miner, 2 water extractors, and all the intervening pumps required to get the water to my startup coal generators. So then I would run like that for a brief period of time until those 4 or 5 coal generators had enough water and enough coal that I felt comfortable turning them on. Then at that point, I would bridge those 4 or 5 coal generators to the startup network. So essentially those generators, now that they're running, would take over for the biomass burners. And then what I would do is I would try to bridge those startup coal generators to the entire power plant network. So I would try to have them start up every miner and every water extractor and every pump. And that's going to be a little more hairy. So we have 12 total water extractors at 20 megawatts each, plus 4 miners at, let's call it 13 megawatts. I think it's actually like 12.5, but let's call it 13 for safety. And then some number of pumps. That's where things are a bit hairy. Let me look at logistics. Pumps. Each is 4. Oh boy, and it's like I already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'd probably have, like, 7, 8. I'd probably have a lot, honestly. Let's just call it, like, 30 pumps. That's gonna be real rough, actually. 30 times 4, so that's 412 megawatts total. Let's divide all of that by 75. Oof, so that's like just over 5 coal plants. So I'm gonna have to think about that. I think pumps are the deciding factor as to whether or not having 5 coal plants sustain our startup of the whole system is gonna work. Because if this were lower, if this were even like 25? No. 20? If it were like 20, we could get away with it. So minimizing the number of pumps will help out a lot, but I don't know how good of an idea that is in terms of flow and guaranteeing that our water flows smoothly. So I only have 6 pumps right now. Oh, yeah. They get angry over there, but I'm not really worried about it. So I guess what I should really do is start placing pumps. I should start placing pumps, and that will let me know how feasible my plans for the startup network are. So let's go ahead and put a pump down here, and you can see that when I have this placed, and it especially helps to lock it, I can get this visual indication of how much head lift it's going to provide. So it's basically saying this is where the water will stop from that pump. Like, this is as high as it's going to go in that pipeline. So this gives you a great idea of where to place your next pump. And I wouldn't recommend placing it directly on where the head lift stops. I'd recommend going just a little bit further back and planning to place there. But yeah, locking the hologram like this is invaluable because you can lock it and then you can see this visual really clearly of how much head lift you should have available, and then you can place it. And then while you're standing here, you can go ahead and repeat that process. So I'm going to lock that hologram. And now we can see that this head lift should travel all the way up to our fluid buffer. Caveat there. The fluid buffer itself, you have to consider how full your pump can push that thing, because you actually will have issues where, like, your pump reaches the fluid buffer, but your head lift runs out like halfway up the height of the fluid buffer, and thus the fluid buffer will only ever fill halfway. That is actually a problem you can have. It does, as far as I'm aware, the fluid system is advanced enough to take that sort of thing into account. So definitely keep that in mind, and what that probably means is that I would really like to place one more pump here, just to make absolutely sure that our fluid buffer is going to fill to the maximum amount. But I think that's a good spot for that pump. And then we're just going to come all the way up here and place one more pump right here, and that's going to give us plenty of head lift to fill that fluid buffer. I guess I should look. It does say each pump applies a head lift of 20 meters. And yeah, this thing is not 20 meters tall. It's more like 8 meters tall. So we're fine. So I think that is good on that line. And we're just going to repeat that same process for all of these other lines. paper sheets, and I don't think I have any more, so I'll be back. So I'm actually starting back up here, not quite back at the power plant, because I just realized that the space elevator is gone, and I have an objective marker in the top right that says build the space elevator. I don't know what happened. I don't know whether this is a bug or if I accidentally dismantled it at some point and didn't realize. But the top is still there, but the space elevator is gone. So, I had meant to move it at some point anyway, so I think I'm just gonna try building it someplace slightly different, and we'll see how that goes. That is still a very, very cool animation. Well, yeah, because I don't remember disassembling it, I want to blame that on a bug, but I could imagine a situation in which I just do something like that while disassembling a bunch of other stuff. So I'm not gonna scream bug on that. I think it is entirely possible that I just disassembled it and forgot. So I'm just going to assume that was it. As far as I'm aware, everything else is running smoothly, so it's not like things that I have built are randomly disappearing or any such horrifying thing. So I'm just going to assume that I did an accidental dismantle of the space elevator. But hey, I had intended to move it anyway. I think I like that position better. So long as everything else is fine, which it certainly seems to be, I am fine with this. Alright, well, I am finally back and gonna finish placing all of these pumps. Alright, worth noting here that because these pipelines have leveled out, I think I can just place one more set of pumps. Yes, I should be getting off before too long. But I should just place one more set of pumps here, and that should be enough to top off those fluid buffers, no problem. Okay, well, I think that's all the pumps placed. Boy, I'll tell you, I think I used a lot more than 20 pumps, so I do think I'm going to have to do some reassessment of my startup plans. Let's see, it's 3 on each of these, so 6. And then it's 2 down there, so 10 total. And then 3, 3, 3. So that's 3 sets, 4 sets, 5 sets. 5 times 3, 15 plus 10, 25. 25 pumps. Wow, that's a lot of pumps. If I could remove these, that might help a lot with startup. Yeah, my inclination is to try to remove these directional pumps here that are basically just here to enforce directionality of flow, and to see how the system does without that. In principle, I think it should work without those there. And eventually I'll unlock valves, which should serve the same function without any power requirement. So I think I don't need them, and if they do help, there's a better component to serve that purpose eventually. But I am just a little nervous about this setup. Let me double check. So I think that's a count of pumps in the system, which means 5 coal generators are necessary. Can I do... Let's see, so 2 water extractors gives me 240 cubic meters of water. Yeah, and that is over 5 coal generators. So I think I should be good to start up with 5 coal generators looped in and operational. Okay, all right. Well, now I need to start figuring out running power. So the first thing I want to do is I want to identify my startup generators, like which set of 5 am I going to use as the first ones to come online? Basically, the ones that the biomass burners will support. So yeah, that will be our biomass startup, because the first part of the stand-up process is going to be bridging biomass to our startup network. And then the second part will be bridging our startup network to our startup coal generators, the 5 coal generators that are going to take over, basically, for these and start powering their water extractors, and then extend to power all of the water extractors, all of the pumps, all of the miners, everything necessary to get the power plant filled with resources, including water. Okay, so biomass, startup extraction, startup coal generators on this node, all of our extraction on this node, and I think this node can also hold all the other coal generators, because by the time we bridge these two, the startup coal generators should be providing more than enough power to support everything, so it doesn't matter if the other coal generators are stop-starting while filling up. I think that's fine. And then the final piece would be the external power grid. So this is what will actually go out to a power line leading away from our coal generator plant. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4 switches. I think that makes sense. And hopefully my sort of loose description, thinking through this, makes sense to everybody. So yeah, the biomass one isn't sticking through. So this is our startup extraction network. So I would pull this out somewhere like here, and then route it out to there. Okay, so yeah, I built a power pole Mark II here, because I want to be able to put multiple connections on this. Well, more than, at least more than 4. Okay, and now I can route this here. I don't think I need a power pole Mark II at this point, because this is just going to have like 1 pump per pole. Okay, so I think that should be all of our startup extraction off of that one little power outlet there. Because it's the miner up there, the 2 water extractors down there, and then all the pumps along this ramp, which should be sufficient. Alright, so let's go, first of all, let's go overclock all the miners before I forget to do that. That would be bad news to forget that until the very, very end. Alright, so now let's build out our startup coal generator network. So let's just zoop some walls across, build those up, and then building off the next plug in line. Okay, so that should be the 5th of our special startup generators. Let me make absolutely sure. Okay, yeah, that's not gonna work, is it? Because of how I ran the pipes. Because I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 off that side, but not a 5th. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, well, I might have to do some creative belt work to connect this up, because, yeah, so the issue is my startup water extractors are feeding this whole, like, right-hand side, from this perspective, right-hand side of coal generators, like 7 of them. But my startup miner way out there is feeding a line of coal generators like this. And there's an issue as soon as I try to extend to 5. So I think I'm going to not... I really don't want to redo the pipes. I would much rather make some alterations to the belts. And I don't think it'll be bad. God, I hope it's not bad. So my idea is to cut this line and to add in a belt like that. So now this coal generator specifically will be fed off of this belt line, the one coming up from here. And of course that means we've got an imbalance, so I'll just do the same thing at the other end. I will, instead of feeding this, I am going to take a belt off of here and feed that. So now the next connection point should route to the remainder of our extraction for this power plant, essentially. So how do I want to route that? Okay, I think that is finally all of the extraction hooked up. Boy, I hope so. So then the last plug will be external power, connecting this out to our wider bases and power network. Maybe I'll just put a pole here representing that for now. Okay. So now I think it's just a matter of actually setting up the switches and actually turning things on. I hesitate to even say it. Gosh, it feels like I've been working on this for forever. I've enjoyed it, but boy, this last little... Oh, I'm not done. I'm not done. Crap. Because I have to actually hook up all of the coal generators. That's gonna take a hot bit. I think I'll just pause recording and loop you back in for when I'm actually gonna hopefully stand this all up. Alright. So yeah, I do believe that I have finished hooking up all of the coal generators. So hopefully, everything is hooked up. It's definitely not the prettiest place right now. Lots of floating walls and weirdness, but I'm hoping I can at least start it up. So let's go down to our little control center over here. I did bring some extra biofuel, specifically to put in here and fill all of these. I'm hoping the startup process won't take super long, but, you know, better to be on the safe side. Okay, so now power switches. Is that the... yeah, that's the correct side. Let's press this up right against the wall. So that's one to bridge those networks. Okay, so going through this again, this is biomass burners to startup extraction. And then startup extraction to startup coal generators. Startup coal generators to the full network, the full internal network of this coal factory, coal power plant. And then that internal network to the external power connection, which currently doesn't go anywhere. We'll have to route that up once everything is started up. Oh, heck, well, I think I hooked everything up. I'm tempted to give it one last look. Ooh, let me make a save right here. I'll let you know if things go so horribly that I reload to here, but hopefully it doesn't come to that. Alright. Let me go ahead and bridge these. So let's see. Power grid B, max consumption 57 megawatts. Yeah, which is low enough that I shouldn't need 3 of these. But, heck. Alright, let's kick up the startup extraction network. Okay, bridged. I didn't blow any fuses, so that's good. Max consumption did jump above that 57, so my math was correct. And that's because it was miscalculating the overclock of the miner. So, that miner should be running. It should be flowing coal through. Yep, there it goes. And our water extractors down here, 2 of them, should have started up. I see 1 green light. I can't see the light on the other one. It is obstructed, but it is running, yeah. And we should have pumps powered. They're just starting to run. Okay. So there's the startup of that pump. And I'm not seeing anything else running, which is good. That whole side of the factory should be dead at this point. Final pump should start up here pretty soon. Please, please, please. Yeah, there it goes. Alright. And now it's going strong. Okay, getting good flow through. Oh, Oh, I think we had a coal generator just sputter to life. First one trying to start up. And yeah, it is still a manifold design, so there's going to be some issues with filling. But this one should be getting way more than it needs, in terms of coal at least. And hey, we've got water flow. Got water flow coming in. It's a sputtering start, but that's to be expected here. Why aren't I getting any coal flow over there? But that makes no sense. Or is it the conveyor that's the issue? It is coming out of that one. I could see it. Flowing in. And now it's flowing down. Okay, I don't know how I misplaced that, but it is flowing now. I'll have to double check the belt on the other side as well once we get to that point. Oh, we got another one of these that isn't running. That's bizarre. That should have been connecting it. Oh no, that's a fault in the blueprint. There's... Okay, that makes sense. So there's a little support sitting in there that I used to place the splitter. And as a result, every once in a while, I must have clicked in and clicked on the support instead of on the splitter. So I'm gonna have to double check for coal flow issues. So does it work when I hook it up to that instead? Oh, maybe it does. Maybe I do have to hook it to the support in this design because the splitter is snapped to the support. Yes, that's it. Okay. So the splitter is snapped to the support, so it is expecting input off of that support, essentially. Okay. So now we have coal actually flowing into the last one, so that's good. Let's go ahead and bridge this. This should work. Let's pull the switch. Okay. Nothing has immediately died. Oh, wow. Yeah, the max consumption estimate was off. That happens a lot when the power network isn't functional. So yeah, I'm glad that, wow, it is so tight. This is why I had to remove those pumps. Max consumption is 374 megawatts. Max production is 375. So yeah, we really are right on the edge in terms of being able to support the stand-up of this power plant with 5 generators. But it should work. All water extractors are running. I don't see any without green lights or moving components. Oop. I almost fell in. Okay, all running. Pumps have started. Pumps are running, even partway up the slope. That pump hasn't started, but I see flow to it. These pumps are going strong. Next set of pumps is just starting up. That pump is just starting up. Looking good. I see good flow over there. Pipe is still filling. Okay, next line of pumps just starting. And they're already pushing out to the next ones beyond that. Nice. Yeah, I think there were some weird issues with the flow indicators here. So I kind of think that I overdid it on pumps in this section. Yeah, head lift, like 6 meters? That's pathetic. I feel like I could completely remove this intermediate section of pumps and still work fine. I'm not going to do that right now, though. I'm going to double check it a lot before I start risking fluid flow issues. But yeah, it's lifting 7 meters. That I really shouldn't need that section there. Okay, that one's full. That one's full. Let's let the line back up completely, just to get into as steady a state as possible. So I'm waiting to see coal stop moving on that belt, which should happen in short order. Yeah, there it goes. So that's a backup propagating all the way up the line. Beautiful. Okay. So that should mean that we're good to start turning these back on again. Excuse me. You're a little lost, bud. This isn't the place for you. Alright, there's a good backup there. Looks like the line is backed up as well. Let's turn him on. So that's 6 of the 9 that I shut down now on. Let's take a look here. And this is looking good now. No movement on that coal line. So let's turn on the last 3. Okay. So yeah, that long startup time and, turning off the generators is basically a byproduct of the manifold design. It does make things a lot simpler to build, but yeah, startup can be a little weird. Let's just check our fluid flow now that everything is on. It might take a little bit to get up to full speed, but I'd hope. Yeah, this one's still spiking and crashing a little bit. Remove that. We're seeing pretty consistent flow. And we've seen this one trend towards a nice 240 before. So I don't think this spike crash thing is too much to worry about. I think it's just it sort of evening out to the appropriate flow rate. You can see it's kind of bouncing around. Bounces high, crashes low. But I'm hoping it'll trend towards a nice 240 steady state, assuming I did all my math correctly. Your fluid buffer's nice and full though, so I think we're good. Well, that should be a fully operational 2,400 megawatt power plant, fully automated. I forget how many biomass burners we had. Yeah, still some fluid flow. Hoping to see that level out. Let's go ahead and turn this on, though. It's not really bridging to anything right now. It's bridging to a dead power line, but that is the line we're going to start running back towards our base. I think I'll leave the tractor here for now, because I need to build along the whole way. Look out at that operational coal plant. Awesome. Oh yeah, so this is a good time to mention. So first of all, like the cosmetics of this, it could probably use a lot of cleaning up, the walls especially, just completely unfinished. But I think what I can do is go in here and change out some of our color swatches, make this look a little bit better. So this is actually a really cool system. I love the way that Satisfactory does the coloring and customization of your factories. So I'm pretty sure that every time you build a factory machine, it uses this set of color swatches. Every time you build something related to project assembly, you can see it says space elevator. And like the project assembly, I assume that's the top of it as well. And then foundations that you place, concrete structures, pipelines. So I think what I should be able to do is just edit this. So currently all of our pipelines are transporting water. So what if we give them like a deep blue color, like a really dark one, and then maybe like a contrasting color, like a yellow? Something like that, maybe not so bright on that yellow. Oh, there's like matte, shiny. Let's try shiny. Select color, and look at that. All of our pipes changed that color right in front of us. I just love that effect. It is so clever, the way that these swatches work. So yeah, any pipelines you place will by default get this color swatch applied to them. And then concrete, so on. And you can set up your own swatches and color things specifically those colors. And you can also use this custom swatch, which basically is a temporary color. So if you color something with the custom swatch and then change the custom swatch after the fact, it won't retroactively apply. So that's a great way to get one-off colors. But most of the time I set up like specific color schemes that I want parts of my factory to have and go from there. So I might not keep like the pipeline swatch permanently this color, we'll see, because we will start dealing with other fluid types eventually. Let's like edit our Fix-It Foundation swatch. I wonder if we could, for example, make that like a really, well, it is metallic foundations by default. What I do want to do, honestly, is go through and change out a lot of this stuff to concrete. I think that just looks better. But let's play around with this. Ooh, cool. Oh, getting a nice sunset on it as well. Well, yeah, that's a huge deal, getting that coal power up stably. I am very excited to finally turn off our biomass. Yeah, like I said, one of these days I'll clean up this power line. But for now, let's just route this back, hopefully before anything has shut off back at our little main base here, and finally relieve our biomass. Are there any power lines I can hook up to still? Let's jump you across. Alright, it's official. We are on coal power. Now, granted, our outpost factories are still running on biomass, but that can quickly be adjusted. And yeah, as you can see, like this little gap here between production and theoretical consumption, that represents the total output of our existing biomass setup before this coal power plant came online. And this is our new budget. Just incredible. Obviously, our consumption went up a lot, because the power plant itself has a lot of demand for power, uh, hence the awkward startup procedure. But that's amazing. Effectively, the gap between this and this is how much room we have to expand in terms of power infrastructure, and that's easily like 6 times the total capacity of this existing main factory. Just incredible. So I think we can now go ahead. Oh yeah, gosh. The color scheme, of course, applied all the way back here. Just caught me off guard, took a moment to adjust. I think we can go ahead and rip all of you out. I think I feel comfortable with that. We wouldn't be going back at this point. Let's just take all you. Oh man, bouncing on a beam through the floor. Oh no. Okay. There'll be some little belts in between and such, but that is the end of biomass. At least here. All right. Well, I'll move this at some point, and, we'll still want to collect solid biofuel, certainly. But that is a huge milestone for us to have everything switched off to coal power. I don't think we cut off any corners of our factory, did we? Doesn't look like it. Yellow lights instead of red. So, fantastic. Well, I think that's where we're going to have to call it. That's huge. I'm so glad that went as smoothly as it did. And I'm looking forward to expanding now that we've got the power overhead to support that. I'll see you all soon. That's going to be the end of today's episode. Thank you all for joining me, and I hope to see you in the next one.